Hey everyone, we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to revisit a material that I only used once because I didn't get a chance to try it out. But after I did, I'm really happy with it. So we're going to do a larger presentation with it. So in the vise, we have a 3/8 ounce do-it casting jig. This is what I like as a swim jig. I call it a northern style swim jig. It's got a 4/0 Gamakatsu 345 hook in it. The color is just a basic, I call it olive shad, but it's just a generic bait fish pattern. It's pearl. It's got that green in there, and then we got a black back. I know my lighting is terrible, and I apologize for that, but it's basically pearl, a little bit of watermelon or green pumpkin, and black. And then we epoxy coated it, DevCon 2-ton epoxy. Um, it looks a lot better in person than it does on the camera. But what we're going to use today is this stuff. This is called Polar Goat. It's got a really neat sheen to it. And this material is tough, but it flows really well. It flows sort of like craft fur, but it's a really tough hair. It's some good stuff, and we're going to use 3 different colors of it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some white, and I already cut some off the hide to save some time. This is the fluorescent white, and it's hard to see why they call it fluorescent, but it's got a sheen to it. And what I like to do with this is I get the longest ones, and I'll pull them out and I'll just stack it to make sure that we don't have any really short ones in there. I don't want that. And I'm going to lay this on here. And you want this to be roughly around 2 inches past the bend of the hook. Depends on what you want to do. If you don't want to use a trailer with it, because this has a lot of action on its own, you can make it a little longer. This one here, I'm going to use, there goes my glue. This is Flash Shad. It's a Eco Pro Tungsten Swing Shad. I like using these for trailers more so than the Kitech because this is tough. This has good action, which works good with the heavier jig head. But if I was doing something on the finesse side, I would use the Kitech with just a regular ball head jig or a small swim head. So that's what's going to be our trailer. So like I said, I want this about 2 inches or so past the bend of the hook, not much more. And I'm going to use black 210 denier flat wax nylon thread as always. And the reason I want the black is the collar is actually going to act like I don't know how you could say it, a highlight. You know, I'm still old school. I actually like the look of banded skirts that when they color coordinate the bands in them. But that's what this is. This collar is actually going to add to the look of our jig. It's going to give it that classic type appearance. So we got our little bit of a base start. You don't need much. And then we're going to take our white Polar Goat. Line it up what we have in what I figure about 2 inches. And we will cut it. That's when you really get a That's when you get a realization on how tough this hair is when you go to cut it. And it's slick too, sort of on the same type of plane as bucktail. So what I do with this, the one thing is it follows the thread real nice, so you can push down on it with your thumb and you can get really good distribution without a whole lot of work. That looks pretty good, so I'm going to pinch it and I'm going to tie it in really tight so it doesn't move on me when I add the other colors. That's pretty good. We're going to do the same thing now with the olive color. This is olive polar goat. And all I'm going to do is line it up with what we already have tied in. Yeah, to try this stuff out. I mean, you get a little bit of waste on it. If you tie crappy jigs, you could save it like I do. And then you could, it's almost like fish hair. If you ever used fish hair, that's one of the first things that I tried for like a synthetic bucktail. And with fish hair, you have to create a taper on it. Otherwise it'll look like a paintbrush. But if you save the ends of this stuff after you trim it, you can do the same thing with it. Create a taper, and you'll have yourself a nice little crappie jig, material for a crappie jig, I should say. So we're taking our olive here. Now, when you add this color, you're going to that's when another realization comes in to how slick the material is. It'll want to pull out on you. So just take your time. Like when you're going and moving it around the hook, you can easily pull it off of that collar. We'll get that evened out after we're finished tying. But I just want to make sure the distribution is really good, which it seems to be. Going to hold it down, and we're going to make some wraps. And we're going really tight against this ring here for some flare. And our last color, which is just black. Real easy. Like I said, 3 colors, nothing to it, easy peasy. And even though it is kind of slick, it isn't that hard to work with because it's not moving around on you. And when you push the material down to distribute it, it moves pretty easily. So even though you do have a little bit of a slickness when it comes to tying, it's still easy to work with. Now, I don't want to make a real wide area of this black, just enough. Get it tight to that ring and finish up our collar. Now, before we get the last wraps in, we're going to add some flash to this bad boy. This is Pearl Polar Flash, 3 strands. And what I do, just a little bit longer than the tail. Not much, but right on the edge, right even or just a little bit longer. 2 wraps. Fold it over. Couple wraps. And I'm just going to trim this long end off till we have a little bit hanging over. Same thing on the other side. We're going to take our Pearl Polar Flash, 3 strands. Two wraps. Fold it over. And now we could finish this, and then I'll trim it. And we are done. Now's the whip finish. 4, 5, 6. Cinch it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cinch. Good to go. Trim it off. Little loon hard as nails, or hard as nails. That's Sally Hansen's. This is water based. Little loon water based. Sally Hansen's works great. Don't get me wrong. The only reason I use this, it works good, but it also dries super fast. It doesn't give you that like lacquer coated look that Sally Hansen's does, but it does the job, and it allows me to show you what we're doing here without me getting my fingers all sticky and gooped up. So we have our head cement on. Take it out, make sure there's no short ones in here. And we're going to add our weed guard. A little Loctite super glue gel. And our weed guard. So this is what we have so far. That's what we look like. And you see, that's the one thing I like about this, that I really like, I should say, is look at how the flare that you can get on this material. It's like bucktail, but in the water, when you see this in the tank, it's going to slim down a little bit, and you're going to get that little bit of a pulse. Now, wait, you see this with the trailer on. And take our little flash shad here. And see, because it flares out so well, it doesn't even, your trailer doesn't push the hair out. This is actually around the trailer, if you could see that. That is what we have. That's our olive shad polar goat swim jig. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Wait till you see this in the tank. Thanks for watching, everybody. And like I said, give it a shot. Material is definitely worth having. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you shortly.